All right, so welcome to another one for Al Cuerpo Boxing, which means to the body. So let's get with it. Let's talk some boxing. So crazy weekend, right? Now that we're in the aftermath of the fiasco between the fight from Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach, right? Pretty good co-main fight, by the way. We had Gary Antoine Russell versus Rayo Valenzuela, which was Rayo was defending his strap, but Gary Antoine Russell just had a better A game than Rayo and the new champ, right? So he took his belt and so right now, I guess the whole thing that happened with the Davis aftermath kind of took the shine away from that event. Though I do have my theories and plots as to why all this even escalated. Not so much the performance between Gary Antoine Russell. I just feel that the co-main was intended to fight Tank Davis for a future event or future fight, okay, as an option for PBC to play with, because as I'm telling fans that PBC needs to stay afloat. They need to survive now that they don't have the Canelo Alvarez market anymore, and so they have to do drastic measures to maintain that job or contracted security with Amazon Prime. Okay, so let's talk about the whole Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach fiasco or ordeal. Sorry. Now, as far as the fight itself, like the overall performance, I found it interesting. It was entertaining, right? But of course, with the mishaps, I guess one, it wasn't Davis's best performance. All right, he didn't really throw a lot of output, or he didn't really fight like at his as his previous fights were. Of course, that can be said because maybe Lamont Roach was just a style that conflicted with his previous styles, right? Or let's just say his main style, if you will. I don't find that to be the case because I know Gervonta Davis has the ring IQ to combat a guy like Lamont Roach, So I've told fans that, in my opinion, I think that Gervonta Davis was somewhat coached to kind of go light on Roach, as what they call carrying, carrying enough to make it seem like it was somewhat of a struggling fight for Gervonta Davis. Okay, that's just me. Okay, just knowing Gervonta Davis's history, his choice selection of shots, there are just moments where he could have taken more risks, particularly with power punches, to somewhat knock out a guy like Lamont Roach. Okay, so anyways, that's all debatable. The thing that I have a problem with, guys, is that as true fans, man, we're not. Yeah, I'm gonna say that we're not suckered. All right, we're not suckered into. Or I should say, we're not suckered in the current state of boxing that we've seen so much. We've seen someone like the new politics happening in Riyadh over in Saudi Arabia. And so, what does the American market do to rival those instances, right? For example, the whole thing with Daniel Dubois falling out, Schofield falling out, or I guess even the draw with Hamza Shiraz and Carlos Adames, which most of us thought. I said Adames was. If you look at my previous videos, I said that Adames was going to get a controversial draw. I have a video of that exact upload. And so anyways, that's what happened. And so, guys, let's focus on overruling, the concept of overruling, and the role of a commission and the role of a ref. All right, and let me give you some context as to why what happened this past weekend was wrong, and why it could easily be a no contest, and why I don't even want to see a rematch between Davis and Roach. Okay, so first things first, the role of the commission, right? Let's go back to, let's say, Virgil Ortiz versus Sergey Boychuk, which I believe was in Las Vegas, and that referee was Harvey Duck. Okay, so in the first round, I think Boychuk clipped Ortiz with a like a flash knockdown, which was a left hook, if I'm not mistaken. And so, anyways, Ortiz touched the canvas with his glove. Harvey Duck called it a slip. Now, what we don't see on camera, we don't know if Boychuk's team had been protesting on the sidelines, like, pressuring the officials to really look at the replay, and we don't know if Robert Garcia's team were also seeing that, and they also made a protest to say, hey, no, it was a slip or whatnot. But the fact of the matter is that the commission, All right, the officials, they took initiative, guys. The commission, the officials, they took the initiative, and this is not even Harvey Dock's control, right? Because Harvey Dock is busy. He's actually refereeing the fight. So it's not so much on Harvey Dock, all right? This is the focus on the overruling from the commission, or the power of a commission, of them knowing what to do and what is right, right? Just focus on that for a second. So, anyways, in the broadcast, we learned that the commission had actually overruled the slip, and they counted it as a knockdown for Boachuk, right? So the first round became a 10-8 in favor of Sergey Boachuk, all right? So if you guys agree with that, if you guys as fans agree with the integrity of the commission taking initiative to see the replay, and who knows how they were inspired to look at that replay, all right? Because if they thought themselves like, oh man, was it really a slip or not, right? Just keep that in mind. If they thought that, and let's say Boachuk's team were protesting, then we can all agree that during real-time occurrences, there's interest to know if something should be overruled, or I guess overlooked at, right? Seen again. And so that's the concept of the replay in that situation between Ortiz and Boachuk. We learned that the commission can easily take initiative, and as they should, right? Other sports have been, there's been debate about that in other sports, like in the NFL and football worldwide, or what they call soccer in the USA. All right. And we've seen instances where things can be overruled. It's happened before in boxing as well, guys. Okay. So, anyways, so we fast forward to Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach, right? Which Steve Willis is the ref in this fight. And keep in mind though that if Steve Weisfeld, sorry, had scored at a 10-8 round for what's his name, for Lamont Roach, then it would have still ended up being a split draw. I'm not talking about Weisfeld or I'm sorry, I'm not talking about Glenn Feldman or Malinsky as cards. I'm just saying specifically if Steve Weisfeld had scored it a 10-8 round in favor of Roach, even though he had it at 10-9, then it would have still been a split draw, all right, just on his card alone. So then, okay, you have to wonder about the other cards, right? Because the other cards, they had it for Gervonta Davis. They had it a 10-9 round for Gervonta Davis. And so then you have to wonder, again, I just gave you some circumstances of what the commission did in Las Vegas, taking initiative of an odd occurrence, right? So we're talking about a flash knockdown in which Ortiz touched the canvas with his glove, okay? Just imagine that illustration, that scenario, versus something that's happening at the Barclays Center, and Gervonta Davis takes a knee, guys. Gervonta Davis literally takes a knee. Now, guys, we as fans, we know our sport, man. You don't just count out, you just don't do a timeout randomly in a fight. That's kind of unheard of, guys. If you do call a timeout, which this does happen in boxing, not literally a timeout like that, but a guy will take a knee for whatever reason. He could be hurt. He needs to recuperate, whatever the case may be. The guy takes a knee. He acknowledges it. He submits that it will be a 10-8 round in favor of the other guy. If let's just say it's just that, okay? It could be, I don't know if it's like a 10-7 or a 10-6. There could be other things going on in the round, but whatever. There's been fights where, the fighter's taking too much punishment and they got to take a knee, all right? And so let's just say, okay, that becomes a 10-8 round. So, guys, that's that technicality. That let's assume that it's just hard. It's hard, man. There's just so much contradictory theory because Gervonta Davis acknowledged to take a knee for whatever he needed to do. Even if he needed to go to the corner and do whatever, he sacrificed that round. He acknowledged a 10-8 round. So for Davis to somewhat act dumbfounded, to say, oh, well, I didn't know that taking a knee would deduct a point. Come on, guys, man. We're not stupid, all right? Maybe it was an act. I don't know. Maybe Davis is coached sideline to do these kind of things. All right. So that by itself seems odd, right? From Davis's point of view. Now then we go to Steve Willis, and fans are saying, he has enough experience in the game. He sees that. He starts to count, by the way. He starts to do a count. And then automatically he shrugs it off as to give favoritism and benefit of doubt for Tank Davis's reasons in going to the corner. Guys, you still don't do that. You still don't do that, okay? At the very least, it has to be a point deduction, man. As Steve Willis's initial reaction, his instincts, what he knows about the rules of the game, he starts to do a count, but then he stops. All right? Then it gets more interesting. Then he pulls Davis to the side, or I'm sorry, not to the side, but excuse me. He pulls Davis and he says, "Hey, man, you can't be doing that. Like, if you take a knee, it looks like a knockdown." Guys, if you take a knee, it looks like a knockdown. Like, which one is it? Right? So that's already two rare occurrences in a real time fight for the fans that we're seeing in the broadcast. Okay? That right there is already suspect, guys. Come on, man. If fans cry corruption, that's one part. Like, that's foolproof of what they call corruption. It gets even better, guys. It gets even better. And then after the round finishes, all right, the broadcast team says that the commission saw the replay. So you got to think about this. Why did the commission need to take an interest to do a replay? Now remember, keep in mind of the one I told you before between Ortiz and Boachuk, that Las Vegas, Nevada commission taking initiative to look at an occurrence when Ortiz touched the canvas, right, with his glove. So they had an interest, and now Brooklyn has an interest. But it gets weird, guys. So the broadcast team says, and by the way, the broadcast team has to be told this. They're not just gonna make it up. They can't just fabricate an idea on a broadcast. It's bad optics, and it's technically wrong. It's not morally right. You can't just lie and make something up. So, anyways, we can tell that the broadcast team was told, over their headphone by the the officials, the director running the broadcast show. This is what you got to say, or this is what you should know. So they're told that the commission saw the replay and that there indeed was something in Davis's eye. That's odd, right? So, just so you guys know, the broadcast team were the first ones to disclose that to everybody in round 10, in between 9 and 10, right? When the round 10 was about to start. So, the broadcast team acknowledges something was in Davis's eye. How could they know that? Did Calvin Ford or Gervonta Davis's team tell the officials on the sideline, "Hey, this is what happened," and therefore they just take their word for it, right? Because it's not until the post fight that we learned that Davis had disclosed that it was something in his eyes, right? We didn't know it was grease yet. The broadcast team didn't know that. They just said it was something in his eye. Okay. And yeah, I mean, there is some truth in that Davis did rub his eye, right? That you can see it after Roach took threw a jab. By the way, that one shot, that one right cross or straight right that Roach tried to land on Davis, that was actually a rolled shot that didn't even touch Gervonta Davis. It was just the sequential jabs that Roach did. It did grab Tank, but it didn't do enough damage to really get a guy to pull a knee. So whatever. So, anyways, Gervonta Davis takes a knee from that. The commission is acknowledging that there's something with an eye. Who knows what the hell is happening in the sidelines, guys? And that's what's fishy. Even the broadcast thought it was fishy, but they themselves are fumbling. Maybe it's not their fault. They're just disclosing information that's being told to them, right, about what's going on with Gervonta Davis's eye. Okay. At any rate, guys, it doesn't even matter. Even if Davis did have something in his eye, and let's say, okay, Davis had the right to pull it. All right, that's fine. Whatever the case may be, technically speaking, from the rules in the game, if you want to bring up another state's replay instance, and we call, like, let's say the Ortiz and Boachuk, these things happen, right? If we want to reference, then no matter what the situation is, that is still a 10-8 round in favor of Roach. I don't even want to go into the thought that if it was still a round for Davis, that it would have been a 9-9 round. I don't think so. I think Roach just exited in that round anyways, right? aside from the knee that Davis did. So it should have still been a 10-8, right? And so Steve Weisfeld, he should know that. He still gave the round to Roach, but it should have been a 10-8, right? So how are Weisfeld, Feldman, and Malinsky all like they don't question that situation, but the guys in Las Vegas, Nevada, right? Which I forgot who it was, but regardless, Ortiz and Bochuk, that team had a better what initiative? Did they know the rules of the game better than what was happening with the commission over in the New York State Athletic Commission, right? It's just weird, guys, man. I find it suspect. So all that stuff is happening, right? And if we review the cards like in total, if everybody would have had it correctly at 10-8, which technically it is, guys, for Roach, then it would have been a split decision in favor of Lamont Roach if everything was morally correct or without suspect things happening. With all these inconsistencies happening with the statements from the broadcast, Steve Willis's acts, Gervonta Davis's acts, so we got three odd occurrences in that fight. That, at any rate, everything should have been a 10-8 round for Roach, right? So it would have been what a 115 to 113 on Weisfeld's cards, if I'm not mistaken. No, or 115 113 for Feldman. Malinsky, if he still gave a 10-8 round to Roach, it would have been a 114 114 on his card, and then a 114 113 on Weisfeld's card in favor of Roach. So it would have still been a split decision had they all gotten it correct in that round, right? If there would have been an overruling to give Lamont Roach that fight. Now here's the kicker too. After the fight finishes, so we got Gervonta Davis disclosing grease coming from his hair, and then days later the hairstylist is saying no, there was no grease or whatever you call it. Okay. And by the way, guys, let me go off topic here about the grease. These guys are perspiring, man, for 12 rounds. All right. If grease was really an effect, Gervonta Davis would have said it more in a pluralistic form, and like saying, "Ah, man, that grease bothered me throughout the whole fight." Or to play it off, he could have probably rubbed his eye in the later rounds to kind of prove that it was really an eye issue, right? But for it to happen just one time, I think it was kind of like either a plotted, scripted excuse for whatever reason they wanted to carry with this fight. Okay, I know it sounds weird, guys, but it just doesn't make sense that when you're perspiring and it only happens once, and as the rounds progress, there's more sweat, so it would happen more than once. Unless you want to tell me that grease is only in one part of the area, right? That doesn't make sense. So just remember that only happened in round nine. So the grease thing kind of seems like a fumbled excuse or plot for what happened at the Barclays Center. Okay, so. With all that being said, guys, okay, so let's say that they do rule this a no contest. All right, that, like, for example, what I'm telling you makes sense. What is right is right. Um, what happened that night should have not have happened for the greater good of boxing, for the integrity of boxing. That should not have happened. That should have been a 10-8 round for Lamont Roach on all cards, on all the judges. And what the broadcast had said was incorrect, man. Come on, they should know this. Or whatever. I give the broadcast benefit of doubt to not really know what's going behind the sidelines. They just have to say something, right? For the fans, for the viewers. Okay? So with all that being said, let's say this fight does become a no contest. I don't want to see a rematch, guys. It kind of like this whole game of a fight kind of taints my interest in Roach. I'm going back to what, like, to Lamont Roach, for example. If Lamont Roach, if he truly felt that taking a knee was a problem, and by the way, he's not stupid. He knows how to count the scorecards, man. He's a pro boxer. He knows these things. He even said it himself. He was like bragging in the post-ring interview about, oh, when I heard the scores. So anyways, just keep in mind that Lamont Roach, in his head, he knows the scoring, the logic of scoring, okay? So with that being said, if he knows that it should have been a 10-8 round for him regardless, then he knows he won the fight. I would express it. If I was Lamont Roach, I would say, hey, look, everything I just explained to you guys right now, that's what Lamont Roach should have said, for example. That it should have been, if everything was, a 10-8 to him, then it should have been a split decision for him. Wouldn't you do that? You just beat Gervonta Davis. You would have won notoriety. But instead, Lamont Roach is kind of like soft about it. I don't know. Maybe he would be going against the grain. Maybe he's advised to not really go against the grain. That's my conspiracy theory situation. Because, to be honest, the best thing in boxing at the moment would have been a win over Gervonta Davis. Let me repeat that, guys. The best thing in boxing at the moment, especially for Lamont Roach, would have been to have beaten Gervonta Davis. And technically on the cards, he beat Gervonta Davis. And third, Lamont Roach is talking about scorecard theories, but he's not making a big deal about it. Guys, that's not suspect to you. To me personally, I think PBC just were trying to create controversy in this fight to start a rematch. And then, guys, days later, we see a tweet from, or we see a disclosure from Ring Magazine that Gervonta Davis is reaching out to Vasily Lomachenko. Isn't that too practical? So now they're reaching out to Lomachenko, aside from all this controversy, or perhaps that's what they wanted, right? And so right now, if Lomachenko doesn't agree to any of this stuff that's going on, if they don't agree to this call out by Gervonta Davis, then it makes Vasily Lomachenko look like he's ducking Gervonta Davis. Even though the theory would be that Gervonta Davis kind of want their team, or PBC, they want to make it seem like Tank Davis is slipping. And so therefore, this is the right time to persuade Lomachenko to take the fight, right? Think about that. Okay? But on the other hand, a rematch with Roach also benefits PBC, right? It benefits them because it's another fight. It's more PBC viewers, it's more Tank fans not really understanding what's going on with the scorecards, right? And they haven't even that other option, which I think they're gonna do. When this fight becomes a no contest, then Tank Davis has the right to say, "Oh man, whatever, man. Everybody's against me. They stole that fight from me. Whatever. I don't need to fight Lamont Roach again because I won." So therefore, what do they do? He's gonna go for the Gary Antoine Russell fight, which was the reason for that co-main. So now Gervonta Tank Davis gets to fight for a real 140 title. That seems more legit, opposed to when Tank Davis fought Mario Barrios at 140 for that regular title, if I recall correctly, right? So it's good. It's good metrics. It's good noise. It's good plotting from the PBC. Guys, man, for those that think that I'm like a PBC hater, man, I've been saying good things about PBC. I've been doing videos pro PBC for the longest, but you got to call it how it is, guys, man. Do we blame a bit to Riyadh season for the recent stuff that happened there? I don't know. I don't care, man, to be honest. But for the greater good of boxing and to keep the integrity sound, it's good to see that fans and other channels, other hosts, other people in the industry, saying the thing looks suspect, right? So hopefully you guys got that right now, that this whole thing between the overruling, commissions taking initiative of replays seem to have fumbled this past weekend at the Barclays Center, compared to knowing what Virgil Ortiz and Boachuk's overruling had in Las Vegas, right? So what? Are some judges better than others? Do some commissions do a better job than other commissions? Depending on the hype or the noise or the star power between fighters, does that make a difference, right? So for the most part, most fans will agree, guys, this is irrefutable. Most fans will agree that what happened, the overruling in round one between Ortiz and Boachuk, was a good thing to do. Everybody will agree to that. And think about why they would agree to that. So you compare that initiative and acknowledgement from fans and compare that to the round 9 fiasco between Davis and Roach, right? If you honestly believe that what happened between Ortiz and Boachuk was correct, then you automatically have to agree and know that scoring at a 10 round, that it should have been called a knockdown, was the right thing to do in favor of Roach. I mean, come on, what was Steve Willis doing, man? What was the commission doing? Right? You don't call timeouts in boxing, guys. Imagine the practicality to call timeouts. You're taken to the ropes and some guy's molding you with body shots or whatever, and you say, "Hey, the timeout." You run to the corner. The guys, you don't do that in boxing. It doesn't happen in boxing. Or even if it did, which it does, I apologize. When guys do want to call a timeout, they don't obviously literally say timeout, but they take a knee, guys. They take a knee. This happens in boxing, guys. You've seen champions and you've seen fighters take a knee twice in a round because they've taken too much punishment, you know? So, how does that exempt Tank Davis in doing it? Or maybe some fans just don't remember, don't know, or they don't want to acknowledge that. Okay, but I mean, to be fair, I do see a lot of fans giving it to Lamont Roach, right? They're saying it's unfair, should have been a Lamont Roach win. I get it, but uh, I just don't like the attitudes from the fighters or I don't like the attitude of Lamont Roach not really pushing this hard through his management, through his tweets, doing more interviews, and saying, "Hey, this is how it should have been," as I explained it. That all judges should have had it a 10-8 round in favor of him, but he's not making that much noise. Why wouldn't he? Right? Again, would he be going against the grain? Is he being advised not to say that? Right? We're hearing more of Tank Davis than Lamont Roach on that instance, right? So that's what I have a feeling. I have a feeling that, hey guys, as I jokingly say, the era of Buck Smith, or when Chavez fought Buck Smith, my opinion, I kind of knew that Chavez knew that Buck Smith was kind of a goofball in that fight and throughout his career. Sorry to say, man, but you know, people that know, Smith was investigated. Even the broadcast in that times haven't had acknowledged Smith's weird acts in boxing, and as if Chavez wouldn't know about it, right? So Chavez had all the advantages in that fight. So with that being said, it's like, in other words, why would you want to take a fight with Buck Smith? And you're Chavez. Okay, yeah, I get it. It's a filler fight, whatever. It wasn't so much an expedition, but it's a regular filler fight. But why would you want that type of hype on you? Because it makes Chavez look suspect for accepting that, what they call a cherry pick, right? You guys research that for yourself. Buck Smith or Chavez, or Buck Smith versus Chavez, or just Buck Smith in general. And you'll get an idea that if boxing's been doing Wild West things for who knows how many years, right? For decades, how is that any different than now with a brand and a PBC that's still trying to stay afloat, still trying to be alive? Okay? I'll finish with this. For example, Deontay Wilder and Malik Scott. Good friends, good boys. By the way, shout out to Malik Scott for helping my boy Surdo Ramirez over at Cruiserweight. But let's keep it 100. Keep it 100. Malik Scott, PBC, Al Heyman. Deontay Wilder, Al Heyman, PBC. Takes an awkward fall on a cross. Looks weird, guys, right? And they were friends for years, guys, right? I'm just saying. Don't count out ideas as to why Lamont Roach ain't really going hard on the outcome of this. Who knows? Maybe thanks to this video, Lamont Roach will start doing that, and then we will see a no contest, and hopefully we won't even see a rematch between Tank Davis and Lamont Roach. By the way, again, in my opinion, I think Tank Davis, if he really wanted to press the gas and really wanted to press Lamont Roach, he would have already stopped him. But hey, man, politics. I think Gervonta Davis carried Lamont Roach, and it's the reason why his output was low. It's just me, guys, man. Look at the shot selection. All right, Gervonta Davis didn't really throw power punches as he normally does, and taking risks. And you have to ask yourselves how much was of a threat or danger was Lamont Roach, be it from close range, whatever, man. It just, guys, I find it suspect. But anyways, let's wrap this up. All right, so let's conclude in saying that, for the sake of boxing and the greater good of boxing and the integrity, look at what the initiatives from different commissions, different states, different fights, how they differ, but how one is a bit understandable, right? Overlooking a what Harvey Dock called a slip to being an official knockdown. That's nice. That's good. It seems like consistent sportsmanship for replays. I don't know how you would call it, but I think you get my point. Whereas you go to the Barclays Center, Tank Davis takes a knee, goes to his corner, a comedic timeout, if you will. Steve Willis comes, he starts counting, then he stops. Guys, man, it's just suspect. It's weird. But that's what I got, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think this fight should be a no contest? Do you even want to see a rematch now that if you acknowledge all these weird theories that are going on? Do you really trust the buildup of this fight between Roach and Tank Davis? Who knows, man? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I will catch you on the next one for Al Cuerpo Boxing, which means to the body. Peace, and I catch you on the next one.